Hey guys, Tyler Ansman here with Tyler Ansman Performance. And so we're going to go into part 2 of our youth training series today. All right, so in part 1 we kind of discussed what we're training and why, and kind of how these youth athletes differ from our older athletes. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch part 1. But in part 2, what we're going to talk about is kind of how we set up our training a little bit more specifically, and kind of what we're doing in terms of measuring and tracking results there. Okay, so one of the really big things with our youth athletes especially is that we're going to gamify as many things as we possibly can. So what that kind of looks like is, rather than just having them run sprints, we're going to have some kind of team game out of it. So it can just be head-to-head, or there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with that. We're going to do the same thing we do our differential command training. We're going to do all of these different things where always it's competitive, all right? So the engagement goes way up. The other thing is, if we're doing kind of max effort things, whether it's throwing velocity or sprinting or skipping races or jumps or whatever it might be, output is going to be up, all right? When you have somebody to compete against, that's going to go up as well. The other piece to this is kind of the single most important thing to like how good can a youth athlete become long-term is that they participate long-term, that they enjoy doing it, right? If they want to show up to the gym and they do it for a long period of time, odds are they're going to get pretty good at that thing, all right? But if we kill them with things that aren't fun, or just kind of crush them with fatigue and soreness and all of these things, they're not going to want to come back, all right? So we need to kind of keep the enjoyment high, especially when we're dealing with youth athletes. So fun and long-term participation are kind of direct results of gamifying training when possible, all right? So we're going to gamify as many possible things as we can. All right, so the other piece to this is that kind of gets lost in youth training, I think, a lot of times, is that we don't measure and kind of track results like we would with our older guys. So we need to measure and track results with our youth athletes, all right? So part of what we're going to see in terms of like kind of guys improving is just going to be a natural maturation process, and that's totally fine, right? So the results may be a little bit skewed in terms of who we're kind of dealing with, but we still want to measure and track these things. So again, we're kind of upping that competitiveness when we do kind of what Tony Holler talks about with kind of ranking and publishing the sprint times. All right, we can do the same thing with medicine ball throws. We can do the same thing with kind of max velocity throws. We can do it with sprints. We can do it with jumps. We can kind of rank and publish all these things so guys know what they're shooting for and they show up engaged and ready to go. All right, it also kind of helps us on kind of the training and development side kind of refine our processes. If we're seeing guys maybe not get better, we may need to kind of ask ourselves why, and then we can kind of tailor this process a little bit more to guys who are in different stages of maturation, right? I mean, you have the guy who's 6 feet tall and has a full beard when he's 12 years old, and then you have the guy who's kind of 4'8" and 90 pounds. Clearly they're on kind of different levels of the maturation process, so we may need to kind of tailor these processes a little bit different to them. And we can do that if we're measuring and tracking things, kind of see how all of these things are working together. All right, thanks for watching. That was part 2 of our youth training videos. If you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or reach out via email. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.